Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really digging into a vital hormone, insulin. It's life-saving stuff. It completely changed the game for diabetes management. Turned it from, well, often fatal to something manageable.
It really did.
It basically runs the show for blood glucose, helping your body use glucose, store it, affects fats, proteins. It's fundamentally anabolic, right?
Yeah.
Building and storing energy.
That's right. And, what's maybe less talked about is that giving insulin, exogenous insulin, it brings this whole complex set of effects and side effects too.
Okay.
So our mission here really is to pull out some key insights, focus on maybe surprising facts, the wide-ranging impacts.
Like what sort of impacts?
Well, things like weight gain, which is pretty common, all the way to quite severe issues like brain damage. And that weight gain piece, it connects directly back to insulin being anabolic. It helps store energy.
Right. Storage.
Exactly.
Well,
So you gain weight, and then kind of paradoxically, that can make the insulin resistance worse. The very thing you're trying to treat.
wow, okay. And you mentioned brain damage. That sounds serious. That connects to hypoglycemia, I assume.
It does. Hypoglycemia or low blood sugar is a really critical side effect. It starts mild, sweating, feeling shaky.
Your body's alarm bells?
Yeah, autonomic symptoms. But then it can progress. Moderate might be confusion, maybe slurred speech.
Yeah.
And the severe episodes, that's where it gets chilling. Seizures, losing consciousness, and yes, potentially permanent brain damage or even death.
That's sobering, because the brain just absolutely relies on that steady glucose supply, doesn't it?
Almost entirely. And, connecting this up, the main cause of hypoglycemia is usually an imbalance. Too much insulin, maybe not enough carbs eaten, or more exercise than planned.
Or other health issues.
Right, like kidney failure can mess with how your body clears insulin. But get this, hypoglycemia is the main thing stopping people from getting perfect blood sugar control.
How so?
Well, the fear of it's pervasive. Patients, doctors too, they might aim for slightly higher blood sugar targets just to avoid lows, so less aggressive dosing.
Which compromises long-term health, potentially.
Exactly. And then there's hypoglycemia unawareness. That's really insidious.
What's that?
It's when your body stops giving you those early warning signs, the sweating, the shaking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So your blood sugar can drop dangerously low, and you wouldn't even realize it until it's potentially severe. Hugely increases the risk.
Man, that's tough. We're focusing a lot on the physiology, the numbers.
Yeah.
But what about the person dealing with this day in, day out? There's got to be a huge psychological side to this.
Oh, absolutely. It's profound. You've got fear of needles, the pain, worry about weight gain, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
And sometimes even feelings of, personal failure because they need insulin. It sounds illogical, but it's a real feeling for many.
And those feelings must create barriers, right, to actually taking the insulin properly.
Precisely. Huge barriers to adherence sometimes, which leads straight back to blood sugar not being well controlled.
That makes sense.
And tragically, sometimes this psychological strain can go even further. We see links to intentional insulin overdose.
Really?
Yes, tied to the higher rates of depression and suicidal thoughts in people with diabetes. It can cause severe brain injury or death. It just underscores how vital integrated mental health support is.
Absolutely critical.
And then layer on the socioeconomic pressures. The cost of insulin keeps going up.
We hear about that a lot.
Yeah, and it forces people into dangerous situations rationing their insulin, which leads to preventable emergencies, ER visits, hospital stays. It hits disadvantaged communities hardest, widening health gaps.
And are there specific groups who are maybe more vulnerable to these challenges?
Definitely. Think about elderly patients. They have a higher risk of that hypoglycemia unawareness we talked about.
Right.
Plus, maybe some cognitive decline, other organ issues affecting insulin clearance. It makes precise dosing really tricky.
And kids?
With kids, you've got the developing brain being extra vulnerable to lows. And they're growing, changing constantly, so figuring out the exact right dose, it's a constant balancing act, adds a whole other layer of complexity for families.
So wrapping this deep dive up, insulin, clearly a medical miracle, monumental achievement.
No question.
But wow, it comes with these deep, often hidden challenges. Finding that balance, good control, versus avoiding these serious adverse effects, Seems like you need a really nuanced understanding.
Exactly. That's
Huh.
the core takeaway. Effective insulin management has to be holistic. You can't just look at the blood sugar number.
You need the bigger picture.
Yes. The physiological, the psychological, the socioeconomic dimensions, they all matter. It means individualized plans, really good education for patients and caregivers, using tech like CGMs.
Those continuous glucose monitors.
Right, the wearables that give real-time data. Plus that integrated mental health support we mentioned, and frankly, systemic change for affordability and access. It all needs to work together.
It really paints a picture of complexity. This life-saving drug, essential for millions, yet tangled in biological intricacies, human struggles, economic pressures. So maybe the final thought for you to consider is this. What does this deep dive into insulin tell us about the wider challenges of managing chronic disease today? And how do we make sure these vital innovations truly reach and benefit everyone who depends on them?